that last night, so were you? This time I remembered to drink. Sometimes being overtired is a really good time for teaching, because you're too tired to resist. Sometimes it's okay to fall asleep in a teaching, especially since the words are only carrier waves. Sometimes it goes in easier when your conscious mind is not playing silly buggers with trying to understand it. So if you doze off, don't worry about it. And don't wake him up. Oh, lovely. Yeah. I think you should choose which is for whom, and give her hers personally.
Well, I wanted to see which color is your favorite. So you can choose whatever is favorite
And
for
I
you.
will keep the golden one. Any coffee? As always.
Perfect.
Yep.
Definitely. Do you like it straight up or macchiato?
Depends on what there is. I don't like ice much, which is sometimes the only thing they have up.
Yes.
So then I tend to get several pump latte or several shot latte.
I'm the same way. Grande with 3.
So do we think we all got here? Or should we hang out a little bit waiting for the last?
Just waiting for your coffee.
Oh, that'll just come.
Oh, okay. I think we're good.
Okay. Chukukundu zongo gombo dorje sabagarab dorje dang. Shere senge bardu shinlabdi dedam abzam tatatu sunchi. Zogchen jupe lama la solwa. Agindama junela solwa. Dorje chang jitelo naro dang. Marpa mila lombo tatapa. Nabupadang paldan drupa so. Kagilama namla solwa. Ochen lama namla solwa. Nindulama namla solwa. Kondu zongdang yerme pa Pangara Georgian Chadpa Jetitan Nisume Pai Palamanam Chetanke I want to go back to one of the questions last night. Someone asked me if, in order to practice Dzogchen, you needed one-pointed focus. Who asked me that? So I'm going to back that away. So in the view of Dzogchen, one-pointed focus is the problem, not the solution. You're always in one-pointed focus. It just moves from moment to moment, from point to point. But you're only looking at one point at a time. That's very narrow. So if you think of one-pointed focus as a narrow focus, then it is the opposite of what you need for Dzogchen. It is, do you know what the Tibetan word is that you're translating or using the term one-pointed focus?
Shine.
Shine. Okay, so shine is not one-pointed focus. That's one of those weird translations that has become customary that doesn't actually work. Shine is the root of Shiva, meaning peace, stillness. A ne is a PowerPoint or a seat. For example, a sacred place to the local Native Americans that they might go to on pilgrimage would be called a ne. It's a kind of place. So Shine is the sacred place of stillness. It is not a narrowness to one point. However, one rests in the sacred place of stillness without point focus on the imaginary make-believe, what you think, feel, and see. So it is a resting in stillness and peacefulness, but it is an expansion into that rather than a one-pointed contraction into that. You catch my difference in the terminology here? So that translation of one-pointed focus, you might want to put it down. I don't think it's a translation that serves to further understanding of what is meant. It is a stillness. It is not a jumping from point to point. It is not concentration. It is utter relaxation. It is the total expansion of focus into stillness. It is still one-sided, resting in stillness, resting in the sacred seat of stillness, because it lacks the perception of movement. It is a tranced out state, like zong. And it can go on for quite a while. If you work on developing this beyond a certain point, you are likely to be reborn among the formless gods. You see, in stillness, nothing happens. And so you create the cause for a continuity of nothing happening, which is the formless gods, where you sort of exist for 80,000 eons, in which nothing happens. And then that karma wears off. And there you are, right back in a series of occurrences, as if you'd never left it. So you don't want to cultivate Shine over-extensively. Nonetheless, it is extremely useful as a tool in the practice of Mahamudra. Chogchen, not Dzogchen, where you first cultivate Shine, resting in the holy seat of stillness. In order to break your habit of obsessive, compulsive staring fixedly, one-pointedly at phenomena, which you've been doing from beginningless time. It's what sentient beings do. They're constantly thinking about, feeling about, reacting to their sensory input, which is phenomena, outer and inner. So to get over that, a bit of Shine, a bit of resting in the holy seat of stillness, in the power place of stillness, is useful as long as you don't grasp it and get attached to it. It is a process. When you undo a screw to get the back off something, Then you put down the screwdriver and take the back off and possibly pick up a soldering gun or whatever you're going to do to fix whatever you're trying to fix. You don't try to juggle holding it in your hand while you do the next thing. So, Shine as such is a tool that you use in order to be able to clarify to yourself what is stillness and what is the moving. Without this step, which is not normally taught in Dzogchen, many Dzogchenpa run into the problem later on of trying to stabilize the moving. Needless to say, this does not work. They get the view, they see the infinite vast emptiness, and then they try to make it always be there to hold still the idea of infinite vast emptiness, to always be thinking of the view. You can't do that. You can't always be thinking of anything. Even your baby, when you have one, sometimes you're not thinking of the baby. Okay? And when you have a baby, that's the thing you think of most in your whole life when it's new. But still, sometimes you think of breakfast or making a phone call. Does this begin to clarify what is Shine and what you use it for? Many people who go straight to the practice of Dzogchen do not understand the difference between the stillness and the moving, or rather, they have an intellectual understanding but not a direct perceptual understanding, not having practiced Shine, which is not practiced first in Dzogchen. We go straight into Lapdong, direct seeing, treacher, cutting through. Without that, it is very easy to think the view is what you think it is, and to get a subtle experience of the view, and to attempt to keep or maintain that experience, and call it trying to stabilize your Dzogchen practice. Anybody here trip over that one at some point? I'm the only person? Oh, come on. I'm not the only long-term Dzogchen practitioner in here. Yeah, you try to stabilize a experience, a subtle feeling, a perception, because you haven't yet spent time really seeing what is stillness. You don't move no matter what happens. And what is the moving? It gonna move, you can't stop it no matter what you do. With Dzogchen, we go right past this stage, because for some people, finding first the holy seat of stillness is really hard. And separating it from the moving is really hard in the beginning, because their mind's going and it won't shut up. This was my experience. Mine wouldn't shut up. So I was introduced first to Trekchö, which is awareness of the moving stillness, awareness of the stillness in its stillness while the moving moves, and recognition that the moving and the stillness are not two different things. You start there. So, of course, I had the period of time trying to stabilize the moving, until my teacher kindly pointed out to me that that would not work, because the moving's gonna move. It can't not.
So, and that, like yesterday you said, like to try to, like, so like, go vast, right? Like
Go vast, go big.
And then it's inside a room. So should we do this outside, like where you can see the sky, or does it matter, like you go with
It
your
depends
mind?
if you go with your mind, you
Okay.
can be inside a room or not. However, for some people, where their sensory perceptions are extremely important to them, then doing it outside can be helpful in the beginning. After a while, it won't matter. You'll be good at it.
So then it just like going.
Yeah.
Right.
The walls are just floaters in your eyes. Go right past them. Yes.
So, it is my understanding that in order to have the direct perception of the nature of mind,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be in the first level, the form realm.
In the first level of the form realm?
Right.
Define what that is, what you mean by that. It's gotta have a name in Tibetan that I can figure out if you give me more words.
So, form as in form, or this desire form. And
Oh, realms of form, yes, as in realms of desire, realms of form.
Right. So.
That is not my understanding. There was a monkey that got enlightened. Have you heard of the monkey? This is from the Sutras of Garuda Buddha. So it's one of his teachings that has been repeated. Once there was a monkey in the jungle, and once there was a Pratyeka Buddha going for Arhat in the jungle. So this Pratyeka Buddha, real close to Arhat level, he sat perfectly. He had just the right skinny body for it. Full lotus is hard when you have fat thighs. He sat in the most perfect lotus. There was this monkey that saw him do this, and for no reason clear to the monkey except he felt like it, he copied his position. And the monkey found it comfortable. So the monkey often sat like that when he wasn't eating or chasing little monkeys. He'd just sit like that. Now, the monkey never got any teachings. The monkey wouldn't have understood teachings if he did get any teachings. But one day, just from the effect on his energy channels from sitting like that, his mind just sort of fell into enlightenment. Long before the Arhat got results. So, no, for Dzogchen, to see the view, there are no prerequisites. You could be a monkey. And get your channels just by accident into the right alignment for that, and it could happen. Because that's the way the karma rolled. For Dzogchen, there are no prerequisites. It is taught first. One of my most wonderful teachers of the Bon lineage said to me, since Dzogchen is the innate true nature of all living beings, how can you, as a teacher, have the hubris to try to hold it secret from them? Therefore, Dzogchen is taught first. But if it doesn't go in, some other teaching is offered to assist the ripening for it to go in. All beings, Buddha nature is inherent in them. They don't have to be in any special way, at a special level, have achieved something special for this to be the case. Even your fleas have Buddha nature. Now, there are other ways of expressing the karmic path, but all words that I say to you and all words every other teacher says to you, and all words in the texts and books are inaccurate due to being incomplete. They are incompletely inaccurate due to being words. This is a finger. That is a bell. This will ring. This will not. The words are fingers. And so, do you see that water bottle in the middle of the room with the pink bracelet? Leave it right where it is. You all point at the water bottle. Everybody point at the water bottle. You all notice that you're all pointing in different directions, but pointing at the same thing? So these two different teachings that appear to be in utter disagreement with each other are pointing in very different directions. But they're pointing at the same thing. Does that help?
So would you say that you need the same thing no matter what direction it's pointing?
What's the it? I have Asperger's. It's a neural hookup thing, which means I often need it's clarified as to what we're talking about.
Okay.
It's a neurological thing, had it since childhood.
So
Not that annoying, just mildly.
So the understanding of something being, it doesn't matter which direction we're approaching it.
Yes.
It'll be the same meaning no matter which way we approach it.
That is correct. This is why I'm a Rime. Rime means non-sectarian. I have received teachings from the Garuda, the Shakya, the Nyingma, the Kargu, and the Bon, as well as the Druids, the Lakota, and the Cheyenne. A little bit of Sufi. And they all may be easily interpreted to be pointing at the same thing from very different places. And to have a bit of cultural bathwater in there with the baby. However, it's better to have a bit of bathwater in there than to throw out the baby, so we leave the cultural stuff in for the most part, unless it's really in the way. Does anyone else have questions?
My question was like, you were saying the difference between Tantra and Sutra yesterday, Tantra and Dzogchen yesterday.
Yes.
So is that the same analogy with the pointing?
Yes, they both point. Tantra points with colorful, solid symbols. This is a tantric symbol of that which is so empty that it contains not even space. Therefore, it is utterly hard because nothing can enter into it. It has no space. This is a symbol of the primordial purity of your mind. Adamantine, unshakable, unbreakable, and unfuckable. So this is the tantric symbol of that. The sky is the Mahamudra symbol of that. And in Dzogchen, look at your mind with your mind. There is no mind there. Now let go. Back.
Actually today, while I was at work, I returned after I had my concussion, and I had a lot of negativity, but the fact that because I worked at Coffiner, every break that I got, I kept telling myself to look past the thoughts, and actually it helped me relax a lot more at work, to not think about what is in my mind, but to look past it.
So let me change, rather than to say to not think about it, you're still thinking about it, right? You're just not paying no attention to what you're thinking about it.
Exactly.
This is a key way of saying it, and it's an important way of using words to help yourself. Don't try to not think about it. There's nothing that's going to make you obsess more than not thinking about it. Just don't say no, never mind to what you're thinking about it. Relax past it. You see the difference in how to, because when you say this to yourself, if you start telling yourself not to think about it, you're going to do yourself an injury.
So you should acknowledge that it's there, so move past it.
Don't try to think past it. Leave it be. Let it be as fucked up as it wants.
Is that the thought?
Yeah, let them do that. If you try to suppress them, they're going to come out your ears at the wrong moment. Let them do that, as messy as they are. It is the nature of thoughts to be really messy. And besides, you probably have disagreed with yourself 5 times in the past minute. We do that, and we believe every bit of it.
Yeah.
Which is the funny part.
Yeah.
So don't suppress it. Don't try to move past thinking about that. Try to allow your attention, your awareness, your attention. Your awareness is what's looking out from behind your eyes. Look over there. See how your attention followed your eyes? Look over there. See how your attention follows your eyes? So when we say the awareness is the seer, it's who looks out from behind the eyes. But where it looks, even with your eyes closed, where it puts its attention, looking means putting attention into them. So instead of looking at what you're thinking, which is what you usually do, or listening to what you're thinking, you can say it either way, what you want to do is just relax about the thoughts and let them be, like hearing children babbling over their game in the background. You know, and the little ones, you got a couple of little ones there, basically keeping an eye out that they don't eat the wrong thing or kill themselves or each other. But other than that, the little conversations they're having as they play with this doll and that bulldozer, and the bulldozer is actually a dinosaur and it eats the doll and whatever. You're not paying much attention to that, are you?
No.
Like that with your own thoughts.
So it's just background.
Yeah, because you don't try to shut the kids up. They're having fun.
Just let them babble.
Yeah, so do it to yourself. Just let yourself babble. Relax past it. There is a open silence behind the thoughts. Do you dance?
Yeah.
Find the stillness in the movement while dancing.
When I dance, I close my eyes and feel the beat.
The move beat, but find the stillness in which it's occurring. It's practice you can do while dancing. It's an under. It's easier than 100,000 prostrations. Find the stillness in the movement while dancing, for those of you who are dancers. Find the silence in the sound in music, for those of you who are musicians. Make sense? Works just fine as an intro. Especially as you got young kids, you're not about to do 100,000 anything, but you still dance.
Yeah.
So you can do that one.
I rock my fantasy.
Yeah, you can do that. Find the stillness in the rocking. There is a stillness in which the movements occur. A spaciousness which does not move, in which you move. Instead of focusing on your movement, focus on the infinite, empty, sky-like spaciousness in which your movement occurs. Relax into that without trying to stop the movement. The movement could not be without space in which to move, without time in which to move. It is the movement itself that creates the time-space continuum. Other questions on this? Okay, let's go to the text then. favorites, original sin. You see, there is no idea of original sin in Tibetan Dharma. There is an oops. There is an original oops. But it is not far, far away and long, long ago. It's an oops you have in each moment until there is a moment when you don't oops. You don't misperceive. Emaho. Again, my beloved heart sons, listen. Hear how Dharmakaya Kuntu Zangpo, Kuntu Zangmo, primordial Buddha, inherent essence of Buddha-ness, symbolized. Do we have a Kuntu Zangpo, Kuntu Zangmo here? Symbolized as a naked blue Buddha with a naked white Buddha-S on his lap, in union of male and female aspects. Naked because there's no frou-frou around it. He is free without need for so much as an instant of meditation. And how the 6 types of sentient beings wander in samsara without having performed even the slightest negative or vicious act. You didn't do anything wrong to get stuck here. You just missed something. Like a man seeing a rope on the ground, mistaking it for a snake, jumping back and getting run over by a truck. He didn't do anything wrong. He simply misperceived something. So let go of your original guilt from original sin that may have been drummed into you in childhood. Never happened. You didn't do anything wrong. In the beginning, before anything was, nameless samsara and nirvana were pure potential in the original ground of being. Infinite empty vastness, nature of mind, ground of being. Great ocean of Mother Dharmakaya, infinite vast emptiness, but vital. Not just a big dead old nothing, for it were a big dead old nothing, then nothing would ever have come of it. And there would be neither experience nor experiencer. And there is, isn't there? You feel, you see, you hear, you want, you hope, you fear. This is due to the inherent vitality of that infinite emptiness. This is how total presence arose from the ground at that time, which is the beginning of time, which is nowhere in time. In the same way that the natural light of a crystal shines out in rainbow colors when the sun strikes the prism. If this is a prism and the sunlight strikes it, rainbow colors shine forth. They are not other than the sunlight. They are not separate from the crystal. The sun lights a crystal and the rainbow colors are all together much the same. This is an analogy.
Sorry, I'm just like
This is an analogy. When the primal awareness of total presence, clear light nature of Dharmakaya, infinite emptiness in its potential vitality, was potentialized, fertilized, vitalized by the life force essence. Something is potentially vital if it is clear light nature, if it has the potential to be, then it is. And in that isness arising, life force arises. And in the arising of life force, the seal of the vase of eternal life was broken. Time occurred. But since this time is beyond time and outside of time, it pervades all times in the incurrence of time. Quantum mechanics. Go for quantum mechanics if you're going to try to relate to it through that channel. Spontaneously there originated the original clear light which shone in the sky like the light of the rising sun. Light requires a perceiver. Look at how different photons and light waves act when there's nobody looking. Because of the vitality the perceiver arises, because of the perceiver perception arises. The perception and the perceiver are not separate, nor is the spaciousness in which which is the perceiver, which perceives the perception in any way separate from the perception. Quantum. Pure lands of pure being and primal awareness recognize themselves. Dharmakaya Kuntu Zangpo, the primordial Buddha-ness itself, saw that its spontaneous manifestation was phenomena, and that it was not other than the phenomena manifesting in its aliveness, and that the aliveness manifesting as phenomena was in no way separate from the spaciousness in which it manifested. And so instantaneously the apparent outer light of pure being and primal awareness dissolved into the inner clear light. In that recognition that there is no separation between the spaciousness, the awareness of the vitality, and that which it is aware of, which is phenomena perception. In that recognition, the inner and the outer do not need to be separated. And without separating the inner and outer, there is nothing to run from or chase after. Pure from the very beginning, Buddhahood is. However, unenlightened, unrecognizing sentient beings, not recognizing that the nature of the spontaneously originated appearance was our own natural radiance, and unaware, unmindful perceptions occurring, bewilderment was the result. Confusion. Not recognizing. It's like being in a dream and not knowing you're dreaming. And so you have a nightmare or a pleasant dream.
Speaking of which, recognize this as lucid dreaming.
That is an analogy. Lucid dreaming is an analogy to waking up. It is not the thing, it's the finger. It's still the finger. And so in this perception and bewilderment, duality arises, and this is called the ignorance that accompanies every perception. So what happens? You perceive the universe, reality, whatever you want to call it, your reality, first through your sense organs. Now, as a Homo sapien, your sense organs are limited to certain perceptions, only certain wavelengths of light, only certain sound waves, not others, and things can be ultrasonic or subsonic, you won't hear them. only certain sizes tactilely are. You cannot actually feel how many bacteria live on your skin. It's too small for you tactilely. So you've got these sensory limitations as a Homo sapien, first of all. And those you're going to have until you die. And they get worse with old age. But beyond that, beyond just the karmic limitations of your sensory perceptions, when you see something, you immediately think about it and name it. And in that perception of it, see, first of all, the rods and the cones get stimulated into shape and color, and that runs through your energy channels. And somewhere as it passes through the energy channels here that are on their way down to the heart, where you feel things about it, that gets interpreted as an object. A child who is not exposed to light during certain very formative times of interpretation, on a growing up, will be able to perceive color and shape but not interpret it as things, and will be blind for life because of that. Unfortunately, the Nazis did some very nasty experiments on this. You can read about them, but this was proved. So, because the chakra back here that does the interpretations didn't develop properly. So as it goes through the interpretations, now it's got a bunch of connotations stuck to it, however you interpreted it by your previous experience, of heart shapes, of yellow color, of where you saw me get this. It's all in there as you look at it. Now that goes down here and you have feelings about it, but by that time you're talking to yourself about it as it passes through here. That's Tibetan physiology. You can probably do something with neurology to get the equivalent. So you're as with sight, you're not actually seeing with your eyes a yellow stone. Its very stoneness for you is hearsay. You don't know it's not plastic. I do because I am also perceiving the weight. You don't. And yet you're perceiving it as a yellow stone, an amber-colored stone. Somebody told you. You see how you do that? So by the time you are having an experience of the world, you think your experience is out there and is real. Your experience is inside you. You're making it up. According to all your past experiences and according to your physiology as a human being, and according to all sorts of variables. And then you take this experience and you tell yourself a story about it. Relate it to other things. Your mood also influences the story, which is whatever chemicals your brain happens to be squirting at the moment. Blood sugar low, it'll be different. And finally you get down to here and you have a feeling about the story you told yourself, about what you were thinking about the stimulation of your cone, and you think it's all real. Right? Oops. You think this, as you experience it, is outside of yourself, not recognizing that the entire experience is being created by you.
I don't need to overthink this. But what are your thoughts on, seems to me like there's a certain force-setting of survival. What I'm trying to tell you is that, I guess...
Yes, that is one of the things that keeps you really trapped. You will have to let go.
I guess in a certain sense, you know, being caught in discrete of perception, conception, projection.
To keep yourself safe. You're trying to figure out what's going on so you can keep yourself safe from it.
But some of those, I don't know if we should call them reflexes, are paleo-psycho archaeologically,
Yeah,
you
no
know what?
problem.
They're really not in the way sometimes even consciously,
Yeah,
or super consciously.
then your investment in survival and all the little PTSD triggers of it.
I want to say that this is a movement to another type of survival, a sort of trust in a relationship with a nothingness.
Nobody who is sane will step off that cliff without a
Right.
good boot in the seat of the pants.
What
And there we come to the subject of Guru Yoga.
are your thoughts on that?
You need one at a certain point. And you need the right one. And you need to be able to trust them.
Is that like the Naropa story?
Yeah. Okay, you want a story? Break up some of this poetry? One day, when I was up in my cave, this is when I'd moved from the lower down cave that was around a lot of other caves because I wanted to be privater, to a cave way up higher. It was quite isolated. Very lovely spot. And I built my little cave up there, and I had a gum tree, this tiny little thing. And I had a gum tree in it, and I was happily living up there when one night there came to my cave. I didn't used to close the doors or windows. First of all, I didn't have glass in the window. I had a board I could close. And the door was a bit rickety. I built this thing myself out of mud and stones and whatever I could find. So one night there came to my cave this thing. Now, it was dressed in rags. It appeared to have either way overgrown fingernails or long claws. It was skinny. It might have been a sadhu. It might have been a demon. I had no idea.
What is a sadhu?
A yogi that wanders about in the jungle and does practices. Sometimes they do a lot of extreme fasting and don't cut their hair or their nails. So there's this thing, and it wants sex. This is quite clear. And it won't go away, and I'm not getting any sleep. So the next day I go to my teacher, says that I've got a problem. There's this thing, and I can't figure out if it's a demon or a sadhu. And if it's a demon, I need to do one kind of thing, and if it's a sadhu, I just need to slug it in the jaw. But that won't work on a demon, so I need to know which it is. Which is it? And he said, I said, well, how can I find out? How can I tell? He said, well, what can I do? He says, well, you can do what the other girls do and move down into a cave where other people can look after you. And I'm like, I'm not going to do the whole thing. He said, didn't think you would. Well, then you're just going to have to stay up there and deal with it. It's coming every night. He says, just sit in a full lotus and sit in Dzogchen. And I'm doing this every night. Well, you can't rape a person in a full lotus, this I discovered. But you can sure as hell piss them off. And I wasn't getting any sleep, and it was coming. I went to different people, and some of them said, oh, it's a demon. You need to do this puja and that puja and this mantra and that mantra. And other people said, oh, it's a sadhu, just hit him over the head with a stick and he'll run away. I was paralyzed by my survival instinct, where I needed to know what this was so I could know what to do about it. I just was caught here. And my teacher, oh so very helpful, was laughing his head off. You're not going to come down and be a girl, are you? I said, no, I'm not. He says, well, figure out how to deal with it, or don't. I'm doing what you say. I'm sitting in a full lotus. This thing has got its hands all over me. It's got my clothes half off. What do I do? He doesn't have a weird sense of humor. So finally, he says, okay, you don't quite have enough Dzogchen to pull this off. I'll give you a Yidam. And so he gives me Dorji Purba. I'm sitting up there, and the thing doesn't exactly come every night, but I'm not sleeping well because I don't know when it's gonna come. And I'm totally freaked out, and I'm totally scared, and I'm totally in like this survival thing that you were talking about. Because for me, in this situation, with my karmic patterns and my personality, I needed to know what it was before I could deal with it effectively. I was totally caught in that.
Needing to know before.
Needing to know what is going on so that I can figure out. See, I was real intellectual. I'm not now. It got beat out of me a bit. But I was totally, you have to understand things in order to be able to decide intellectually how to deal with them, and you do this by thinking about them.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Totally trapped in that. So this is what we're working with. Finally, I'm doing my Dorji Purva, and the thing comes again, and suddenly I turn into my Yid and I am Dorji Purva. And I swat it with my Purva, and it screams and leaps off over the trees. And I still don't know what the fuck it was.
So it disappeared.
Yeah, it never came back. Never did find out what it was, but that experience of actually turning into my Yidam, which was really intense, I wasn't me getting it, showed me personally where I did not need to understand anything to deal with it effectively. This is what got me over that basic, you gotta figure it out to survive. So like I say, you need a teacher. And you need a teacher who's really willing to hang out in the wind by your shorts.
You know, that kind of rings a bell with certain Native American traditions. There's a certain giving into a ride where there's a certain animal theme, and they seem totally disassociated. You know.
Yeah.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is that they seem to also correlate that same factors where they don't necessarily think beforehand about, they just do or follow a certain way.
It is necessary. You see, your thoughts are created by your past karma. You think you are. Because you think you are. However, you aren't anymore. In each moment, you become new. You change due to the experience of the moment. And there is no real continuity. Not only are you making up out of sensations of your eyeballs, eardrums, and that little hammer that vibrates in the hairs, and the little hairs and the little pips on your tongue. Out of sensations of these little things, you're making up an entire universe. But that universe is making up you.
How do you differentiate from
Relax. Leave be and let go. Stop trying to get all the ducks in a row. If you leave your to-do list long enough, some of it will become urgent and some of it will go away. And nobody dies. Stop trying to be perfect. You have a question.
Yes. Is this where we protect so much our habits even though we try to not
Yes,
get rid of them?
yes.
But we have our...
They maintain the illusion of a continuity of self.
We're afraid to let go. I'm not drinking coffee, but tell me no, and then the first thing I'm going to go do is drink a gallon of coffee. Or, I'm not talking to you, but I'll talk to you.
These are all our patterns, and we use our patterns to maintain the illusion of our continuity of existence as a personality.
Well, in a sense, we know our karma,
We are our karma.
so we find it so strongly,
Relax, resistance is futile.
right? I mean, that's,
Is karma reverse?
Karma is the pattern of this moment, creating the next moment, and the moment after that. And in each moment, those that think they are entities perform what they think are actions relating to what they think are outside of themselves, and so create themselves anew in the next moment. Don't think about it. Look and see, feel about it. For you, 24 hours of saying everything you think out loud would be a useful form of a nundro. It's only 24 hours. Dare you.
No sleep, no.
If you shut up long enough to fall asleep, that's okay.
I couldn't even sleep last.
Relax into it.
It's hard.
Yeah. So what relaxes you most?
Music.
Do some.
I was, meditating, trying to calm my mind, but my anxiety was just so bad last night.
So go play some music. And do the preliminary, the nundro, of finding the silences in which the sounds dance. You're going to feel feelings. Feelings arise from the music, sensations of feelings. Find the infinite vastness in which the feelings dance. Don't subdue them, enjoy it thoroughly. But find the spaciousness in which it moves.
I do have a question, or a statement. Yesterday when we were speaking, I kind of wanted to cry because I felt like it really reached inside of me. And that's the kind of feeling that I felt when I finally fell asleep last night.
Good. Your own Buddha nature is going to be always there. There's no rush, it's not going anywhere. Okay? Even if you die, it's still there. If you get born again, it's still there. So be kind when you have an opportunity and relax. And relax into it. It's always there to catch you like a mama's lap. Big Mama Buddha. The great mother ocean of the Dharmakaya. Feel that. Trust it. Other questions? Yes.
So what would be the difference between Dzogchen and Mahamudra?
Dzogchen is Lema lineage. Mahamudra is Kargyu lineage. Mahamudra has a progression. You start with Shine. Shine matures into Laktong. Laktong matures into Rochik. Rochik matures into Gom, and Gom matures into Gomme. And you do them in order. Dzogchen does not have a progression. So, when you go to a swimming pool, some people, bone dry as they are, walk over to the deep end and dive in. And some people go and walk down the steps in the shallow end and splash them, especially if it's cold water. So how do you get into a swimming pool?
Jump.
Can be either way.
Okay, so you can probably do either. Mostly you can sort of tell because the ones that go jump in at the deep end probably will do better with Dzogchen. And the ones who like to enjoy the process of getting in and the feel of the water as it comes up their body a little bit slowly might be more comfortable with Dzogchen. This is not a rule in every case.
So in order to practice Dzogchen, what, if it could be put into a sentence, what would be the main instruction?
On receiving the pointing out, look where it was pointed. Do not get confused the finger that's pointing with what it's pointing at. At all times, on all occasions, recognize the already known Dharmakaya nature of mind. In its inseparability from Sambodhakaya and Nirmanakaya. What that means in even littler and easier to remember words, by aligning your channels and shifting your attention from phenomena to the mind experiencing the phenomena, from your thoughts to the thinker of the thoughts, and resting openly in that wide open, indescribable, vital emptiness in all its creativity, without attempting to suppress the creativity, which is phenomena, thought, feelings, and stuff, or grasp or bugger about with any aspect of the creativity, thoughts, feelings, and stuff, leaving it to arise and dissolve as it is, while resting in awareness. That would be the practice of Dzogchen. It is called trekcha, cutting through, because when one rests in awareness, one cuts through the temporal thought stream and recognizes one's own nature. One sees the infinite vastness of mind itself and asks, who sees? And the seer is the seen. Awareness resting in its own nature. Vibrant, lucid, not dull and zoned out, and utterly creative in the dance of phenomena arising and vanishing, having neither substance nor duration. Catch that?
It's done with open eyes, right? 'Cause then
It's done with eyes half open. If you try to keep your eyes too open, your eyeballs will dry out. If you close your eyes, you'll fall asleep.
So that should be looking at the
What you often do is find where your eyes naturally fall, the focus point, and then defocus, let go of the focus. Your eyes are unfocused. They are not focused in the way you focus when you're going to read something. Take your glasses off, it helps. Glasses wearers, you are at an advantage. Meditating Dzogchen, remove your glasses, it gets twice as easy. Only if you need them. What happens to you glasses wearers when you take them off, your eyes go out of focus.
I'm pretty fine.
Yeah, so that's fine. Because you're not supposed to focus on a point, you're supposed to let your eyes diffuse.
Would it be better to do that in a blackened room?
There are practices you do in a blackened room, and there are practices you do with your eyes focused on the sky. but not yet. I'll give those to you eventually if you're still around. Okay? Giving all the possible practices to you. Norbu Rinpoche, who was in his late 70s, do you know him? He now does that. Here's the buffet. That's great, except a lot of people get confused and try to eat the whole thing. So you get a little cases of indigestion. I will put out a bit of the buffet, but I'll also say, no, slow down and just taste a few things, see what you like, go for a little more. Take your time going into this.
Can the roots of structure be traced down to the Buddha, or do they go before the Buddha?
Buddha previous to this one is as far back as I know, 30,000 years. First two holders of the lineage were non-human. First was I don't know what, second was a Naga. They're very long-lived.
Is that a Doji?
Garuda Dorji is much later. This is Bon lineage, it's older. Goes back to when Kathmandu Valley was part of the ocean. Swayambhu was a small island. That stupid's that old, the base of it.
So the records are just written, or just,
There is not written records until much more recent. It was oral. Very few material things survive for 30,000 years. And besides, there's been a few floods, and I think there's been a big meteorite and a couple of extinctions.
Didn't they say that it was once a meteorite?
That's not the legend I've heard. In the times of the previous Buddha, supposedly there was more than just Homo sapiens as far as technological species in contact with each other, although what the technology was, details are lost, there's only legends. Because the first holder of the lineage, the Buddha was human, Homo sapien. And he passed the lineage to Allah. I don't know what those were. Long-lived high-tech, that's all we know. And the law passed it to Alu, which translates as Naga. Law doesn't really translate. Very wealthy species, amphibian. And he passed it back to a Homo sapien. And then it was passed orally from Homo sapien to Homo sapien. But I don't think it hit Homo sapien after the previous Buddha. I think it was with Allah and then Alu for at least 10 to 20,000 years. I don't think it was more than maybe 10, 12,000 years ago that it got back to Homo sapiens. I'd have to check the books. I do have names of that lineage in my books, and quotes and teachings from each of them. Was memorized and passed down orally until about 700 years ago or so. I think is the dates. Maybe before that, when it was permitted to be written down.
So you certainly believe that this predates human being?
No, it doesn't predate Homo sapiens. It predates the human cultures we are aware of. There were great periods of loss of culture in there, where nothing much was left of Homo sapiens but hunter-gatherer. For most of those 30,000 years, there was some pretty serious things that went down. I don't know what they were.
The Buddha himself, he was a Hindu.
Yes.
And if I got the story correctly, he was a revolutionizer in the sense that the Hindus believed that the universe was manifesting through so what he figured out, okay, well, this is something that's also on the way, put it down, he said. Do you think he was making a reference to Sachi?
Could be. You know, when you look at a Lama, or a Buddha, or anybody like that, and you try to guess what they're thinking, you're wrong. When you look at your girlfriend, and you try to guess what she's thinking, you're wrong. You never know what somebody else is thinking. Give it up. Won't
easily that someone's chi can be felt within somebody to understand what
You can sometimes figure out what somebody's feeling, but exactly how they're explaining it to themselves, not unless you do a mind link, and that's rather difficult and complex, and even then, the level of doing a mind link to get words takes a lot of training, and both parties have to be trying to do it. And it's rare. So I cannot read your mind. I can sometimes tell how you're feeling. Maybe kind of, sort of. I can project loudly telepathically, but even if I could read your mind, it would be highly impolite to do so. Question.
You referenced traditions, perspective on prehistory.
Yes.
Does tradition give any insight into when we look beyond the sky? With the Hubble telescope, we see the universe and its vastness and all of the...
Every time we improve our telescopes, we find out it's bigger.
And how, is there any insight or tradition that references how this truth is appreciated by that vastness?
Aliveness permeates the universe. It could not be otherwise. But very little of that aliveness is going to be apparent to Homo sapiens due to the limitations of our sensory organs, even when enhanced by machinery. We have microscopes, we have telescopes. But something that lives entirely in an X-ray spectrum, or is a subatomic being living on a quark, we're probably not going to meet them. In legend of lineage, it is said that the universe is infinite in all directions. It is also said that our infinite universe is found to be a single grain of pollen, contained in a single grain of pollen on the stamen of a lotus, held by a Buddha in a macrocosmic realm, and that within every mote of dust in our realm, there are infinite universes. Macrocosmic and microcosmic are simply another direction. When you stretch your filaments, go that way too.
A quick question. You mentioned the Buddhas, in the previous Buddhas, things like that. Are you referring like in the perspective of Buddha Shakyamuni being the fourth Buddha? Is it aligned with
Of
that?
our world, I believe he is thought to be the seventh.
So at our world means planet Earth.
Seventh or eighth, I'd have to look it up.
Okay.
Our world means of this planet. Doesn't mean of Homo sapiens.
We have also historical Buddhas like, you know, those, the first Buddha like lived 80,000 years, the second Buddha lived
Yes.
40,000. Is this the same as what you just described? And then,
Let's see, our Buddha was at 100 years, and the one before was at 1,000 years.
Yeah. And then the one before is like 20,000.
Yes.
And then the first one is like 80,000.
Yes,
Like that.
so
Okay.
I'm going to say that the word used that has come down in the legend is Buddhas of this world. But I am going to presume, because of the time spans we're looking at, it's Buddhas of this universe. Or of this galaxy, I'm not sure which. I'd have to check my timings and see when the stars at the center of the galaxy were in their prime, to try to see if we're talking galaxy or local group or just this spiral arm. I don't think so, because of the timing. However, as it goes down through people who herd sheep on a mountain, world is the term that's gonna get passed down. It's just like iron birds, when the iron bird flies. Or the Garuda is so fast, a bird, that it can be in two places at once. Faster than light travel, anyone? Yeah, I mean, one can play with this in view of our current technology, but we don't know. And that's just playing with thoughts, because thoughts aren't bad. They're like a round rubber ball. You toss them about, you have a conversation, it's ping pong. Don't hate thoughts, feelings, and stuff. Don't hate samsara. Nirvana would be nothing, not no thing, but just a big dead old nothing without the vibrancy and the creativity.
I know it's kind of going off of a tangent, but I remember yesterday you said that the thought that your spouse is cheating on you, whether or not it is happening, in my case I'm going through divorce. So how do I not let those thoughts affect how I react with him? Like, I kind of get a little bit of animosity because I knew what he did.
I don't think you can keep those thoughts from arising feelings. What you can do is not be attached to the feelings.
How do you dissociate from it? I know.
Look at the spaciousness while feeling them. If a feeling is intense enough, and you can look at the spaciousness while fully feeling it without trying to make it go away, you can perceive it as pure energy, the sensation of pure energy. And you still might clobber them.
Yes. In my mind.
Or in reality. No, you're not going to take a swing at him?
No.
Okay.
I couldn't. I'm too peaceful.
That is a belief system. Careful of those, because you made it up. Wanting to be too peaceful, wanting to be more peaceful, wanting to be a better person than you are. Here you're trying to not feel anger because you think you shouldn't feel anger. Don't do that. Feel it. It's juicy. It's alive. It runs through your channels. Don't suppress it. But don't grasp it and believe the story that you're using to maintain it. Let it be there in all of its intensity when it is there. Let it dissolve in all its vibrancy when it dissolves. Do you understand that? It's like 3 years later and 20 chapters later that we get to that part of working with emotions. But we do get there. But I stick it in early sometimes because who knows how long we're going to live.
Well, then there is a difference from reading a mind and knowing somebody's mind, right? Because I thought to help a being, one of the things that we practice is just to be able to kind of like know what they need, right? Because otherwise
It won't work.
No?
No.
What did they say that then like to really help somebody you need to be able to kind of like, I feel like
To really help somebody, you have to let go of yourself.
Okay.
And just be there and let it happen.
And then the response would be natural without having to like really know or something. It's
Yeah,
just like,
you can't do it intellectually. You can
Okay.
never know another person fully and get it right.
okay,
Or you might one time, but you won't the next time, so you can't count on it.
okay.
Haven't you noticed that?
Well, yeah, for instance, like I would always like for example in nursing, I would always step away from a role and just try to be present, and the stuff would just happen. Like I would get a call or like I would get an idea or whatever, and that's how it
Yeah.
worked, rather than being like I want to do this. And like,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
You
I
just
understand
gotta
what you-
open up into it.
Okay. Thank you.
I read, and I sent this to my husband, it said, Namaste, I see within myself what I see within you. Kind of like coming to an acceptance of each other. So that is true. With
That's
by the
true,
feeling that
but-
I am feeling, I have to recognize that his outer self is also my outer self.
Yes.
Just kind of tuning in.
You're creating your experience of him. You're making it up out of your sensory input. What you heard, what you saw. He's creating his experience of you out of his sensory input. You're creating your experience of yourself out of all the sensory inputs you've ever had. He's creating the experience of himself, his experience of himself, out of all the sensory inputs he's ever had. You see the mess here?
Yeah, it's pretty chaotic.
So all you can do is let go of the mess without trying to clean it up. That's so hard, especially when you have a guy who's messy.
Yeah.
And you just want to fix them. They don't fix.
You know, with weird phenomena that happens somewhere, someplace, when we close our eyes, it's got this background, I guess, of nothingness. And I guess sometime in the past when you came, you mentioned that, I can't remember exactly the reasons why you mentioned it, but you mentioned that its background has the connotation of kind of like a motherhood love. Does that ring a bell? The voice-
Vaguely, but you've got it out of context.
Okay. Why you said that? Why?
I have no idea.
The way what I
Here, let me show you guys something. You ever do,
I guess what I'm trying to tell you is, okay, how do we not just feel this sort of vibrance as something mechanical? It's
relaxing more.
in
Yeah, you're still trying to understand it.
No, I'm not.
You're still trying to talk to yourself about it.
Okay, in a certain way, I know my thoughts will get me just around the edges. And I'll just look through the corner of my eye, because I felt that.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
But, guess I'm just trying to get some outer perspective, that's all.
We'll talk about this later.
Yeah, sure.
For this, close your eyes. I want you to imagine infinite sky, bright, no sun, no source of the light, but full of light. The color of the sky in the daytime. The color of the sky overhead at dawn, utterly still. No wind, no light, no movement, no thought. And you are this sky. Infinite emptiness. Not thinking, not feeling, but awake, not asleep, not dull, just this. No time, no edge, no center. And in this infinite, empty, brilliant space, a wind, a breeze, a puff of breeze, a thought. Oh. And the thought reverberates into more breeze, more wind. Ooh, what is this? Where? What? Curiosity. And you, infinite vast emptiness, experiencing curiosity. Move your attention about, creating, becoming, sky above, ocean below. and the wind of the sky, thoughts arising, wonderment, curiosity, aliveness, ripples the waves of the ocean, and the sky sees the ocean, sees the moving waves dancing in form, and you are the sky, you are the ocean, feeling, becoming, arising and ceasing, dancing infinite forms, rainbow light fragmenting in the drops of yourself, in your lucidity arising and vanishing. Ocean, sky, infinite, luminous, arising. And in the arising, the shapes arising, cats and dogs and trees and birds, shapes arising infinite, and you are the shapes arising, and you are the sky in which the arising, and you are the wind which blows the ripple of arising, your thoughts, your feelings blowing in the arising of the perceptions, all beings, all perceiving. And each wave arising in the blowing thinks itself unique and forever, dancing and changing form, no thing returning to water as water blown by the sky, the wind of the thoughts and feelings. And each individual being dancing in rainbow light fragmented from the waves arising in the water. And you are the sky and you are the water. This is an analogy. Phenomena arises in mind. There is no phenomena that does not arise in mind. Arising as a perception of the six sense organs interpreted by thinking into form and shape, felt about, thought about, perceived and changing. The perceiver itself is created by the thinking, feeling, perceiver and perceiving and changing, arising and ceasing in the moment. And so at that time the clear light and the appearances arisen out of the ground of clear light were perceived as separate, as two. This is the conceptual ignorance that arises in each moment. It is the juncture that we fall into dualism, believing that we are this and that and only this and that. And that there is the other, and we have thoughts about the other out there, external reality, and we think it's real, and we want it, and we flee it, and we love it, and we hate it, and we run around to change it, arising in the moment and vanishing in the moment. Do you follow this? So let yourself think, and let yourself feel, and let yourself perceive, and do as you will. Recognize the context of Dzogchen in all your doings and in all your beings. Recognize the already known Dharmakaya. If you fail to understand this vital point and think, observing either diffusion or quiescence of mind is the essence of meditation. Grasping stillness, anyone? You will go astray. My sons and daughters, mere quiescence is a trance state of the gods, and mere diffusion is ordinary conceptualization. What I spoke to you of, that relaxing into openness and diffusing your eyes, it is a stage. the end-all and be-all. You will be able to look at things, focus on things, walk around, eat, sleep, and shit, while Dharmakaya, nature of mind, is completely itself. Already do, you just don't know it. Third word of Garuda, Sopa. The absolute certainty obtained from experience is the third vital point. So just keep looking there.
You know?
Wait. You may meditate on these, but you will not obtain Buddhahood. In short, until you realize your goal, at all times whatsoever, sustain the aspect of total presence that is naked, not dressed in the clothes of construction, not dressed in a belief system or a description. Unobstructed clarity, maintaining a vivid awareness of it as if it were a crystal ball. After your goal is attained, continue to sustain identification with that state. Bit wordy there. Naked presence, your own innate Buddha nature, unadorned by what you think it's going to be, how you hope it will be, what you fear it might be. Unobstructed by your thoughts, feelings, and perceptions. It's always there. Notice it frequently, that vividness, that vivid, bright intensity of awareness which is always present. Don't grab it. Simply return your attention to it frequently and let go. Don't look at nature of mind and then grab it and try to make it hold still. It's not gonna. Glance, short moments. Check and see if your mind is still there. Eventually, you will become absolutely certain that it is always there by your own experience. Once you are certain, don't stop glancing. Recognize that it is yourself. That you are that. Make any sense? It is said that the central reality of the vision of cutting through, Trekcha, the meditation of Dzogchen, is total presence. And that total presence should be sustained in all its radiant clarity by stripping the mind naked. First of all, clothes are transparent. They're like the emperor's clothes. He ain't got no clothes on. You can look right through them. Stripping naked does not mean peeling away something that is there. It means seeing through something that is not there, that is not substantially there. To sustain does not mean to sustain by pointing at like a dog. I have a dog that's part pointer. It points at squirrels, it points at mice, it points at its supper. This is not what is meant by sustain. To sustain, as we use that word, is active. I want a passive word for sustain. Allow it to sustain itself. Cease fighting it. It is natural. To sustain it is natural, but you will have to put effort forth to stop yourself from fighting it, because you habitually do, and your survival stuff is involved. This point is of unique importance. It is an aphorism reduced from 100 words, So remember it well, beloved sons and daughters. This total presence, which is allowed to sustain itself in radiant clarity. This is naked awareness. This is intrinsic natural awareness, nakedly seen. This is isness as it is, and you don't have to make it that way. Just glance right through whatever you think is happening in this moment. Any questions specifically on how to do this? Keep glancing. Up the gain when you're ready. When it gets easy, go ride a roller coaster and do it. Or sky jumping, or whatever. Pick yours. Yeah, so that one won't work for you. Go do something that scares you. Go play with snakes or something. But not until it gets easy while you're sitting there. Generally, you don't have to. The universe will present you with higher levels of awareness.
But something really, you don't really need, like, dogs to bark, if cars to pass by.
Yeah, they could. Doesn't matter. That's just phenomena. Other questions on how to do this?
Recommended having a relationship when you're really sure you've got it all straight and you've got it all clear. Yeah,
that will do it also. Yeah.
So what is it that you say when you are going?
Get a relationship.
If you think you're enlightened, go have a relationship.
Then another question, is it possible that, there is this inherent resistance that
Yep.
doesn't want to progress?
Yep, there is.
That it just don't want,
That's
to
true.
make progress. It's like self-sabotaging.
Yep. And that's what Tantra is for.
So that means practicing Tantra will be helpful.
Yep.
For those cases.
Yep.
Is it possible, because I guess I have a different perception of Tantra, is it possible to bond with somebody while practicing Tantra together?
Oh, yes. But not until you've got your channels really clean,
Okay.
or you'll have an oopsie, and they hurt.
What about when you go to sleep, you try to, like, also go to sleep in this, like this?
Yep.
And when you wake up, try to, like, just like you say, like, when you
Don't grab it.
Okay.
Return your attention again to it. If you happen to be returning your attention to it as you slip off into sleep, that's really good. It has a higher chance of being the case. Don't stare at it fixedly. It's fresh. It's dynamic. It's not static, although it's still. It's not moving. It doesn't come and go, but it's dynamic. Think of it as a dynamic stillness. Every word I use is false. Words don't go there. Those are fingers. So it's not a dynamic stillness, but you may use those words to remind you to look. Just like you can't make this ring. That will.
Don't we do this naturally sometimes, though?
Yep, many do. If they've been practicing it in past lives, it gets more and more natural. If you practice it in this life, it gets more and more natural until you finally hit the utterly natural state of your own recognition of innate enlightenment, which is the epitome of natural. If it wasn't natural, it would come and go. It would be a construct now, wouldn't it? Which means enlightenment would wear off. Like youth, beauty, and high perky tits. It wears off. Any last questions before we
sound, like, would you recommend like doing like the R right is very like just,
There are practices that use certain sounds and syllables. I haven't taught any of them tonight.
Okay.
If you know some of them and you find them useful to you, use them, but it is best to get these practices from a person rather than a book.
okay. I just found like for example, like when reciting a text out loud, just like the just like vibrating, it's just like brief, it's just like this sense of like stillness, like.
And many Tibetans, in fact, will recite texts before sitting in trekture. Try it and see if it works for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We are complete. And we just finished Song 5 for those of you who wish to remember for next year.
On behalf of our center, I'd like to extend an invitation for you to come back, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and everybody here for coming and participating in this. And so, like to, I would like to make an offering to Lena, please feel free to do so. And so on behalf of the center.
Thank you.
Did you want to do the?
So we can all.
Yeah, you all come up and get bumped.
That I think of meditation for everyone. Feeling with butter and lamb.
That's great, thank you. That'd be really good.
Yes, thank you for reminding me.
Have yourself if you want to take this next. You want to let it be more?
No, I'm good. So for all of you, remember how I keep waving the crystal around and talking about nature of mind? Well, I've noticed that people, a lot of times, their intent is really good in the beginning and then it sort of wears off. You ever notice how that works? So what I think is sometimes pretty useful, if I can get them enough untangled that I can get some out, is to give you something to remember. Symbol of nature of mind, crystal.
Only offering to her, I.e. we want to.
That's okay. Yeah.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
We got recorded.